A while on the chill, dreadful edge of night, all stood as if a world were doomed to die, and waited on the eternal silence brink. Heaven leaned towards them like a cloudy brow of menace through the dim and voiceless hush, as thoughts stand mute on a despairing verge, where the last depths plunge into nothingness, and the last dreams must end. They paused. In their front were glooms like shadowy wings. Behind them, pale, the lifeless evening was a dead man's gaze. Hungry beyond, the night desired her soul. But still, in its lone niche of templed strength, motionless, her flame-bright spirit, mute, erect, burned like a torch fire from a windowed room, pointing against the darkness' somber breast. The woman first affronted the abyss, daring to journey through the eternal night. Armored with light, she advanced her foot to plunge into the dread and hueless vacancy. Immortal, unappalled, her spirit faced shade of nothingness, her mouth of darkness swallowing all that is. She saw in herself the tenderness Satyavan, her husband, grew into a luminous shade. Then, hast thou beheld thy source, O transient heart, and known from what the dream thou art new, and that thought? In her beginningless infinity, through her soul's reaches, unconfined, she gazed. She saw the undying fountains of her life. She knew herself eternal, without birth, but still opposing her with endless night, death, the dire god, inflicted on her eyes the mortal calm of his tremendous gaze. Although thou hast survived the unborn void, which never shall forgive while time endures, the primal violence that fashioned the thought, forcing the immobile vast to suffer and live, this sorrowful victory only hast thou won, to live for a little without, to help his suffering hopes. He sees above him with a longing heart, bare spaces more unconscious than himself, that have not even his privilege of mind, and empty of all but their unreal blue, and peoples them with bright and merciful powers. For the sea roars around him, and earth quakes beneath his steps, and fire is at his doors, and death prowls, baying through the woods of life, molds all with the beauty of his dreams. The gods who watch the earth with sleepless eyes and guide its giant stumblings through the void have given to man the burden of his mind. In his unwilling heart they have lit their fires and sown in it incurable and his tears. his mortality, vexing with the immortal dreams, troubling his transience with the infinite's breath. They gave him hungers, which no food can fill. He is the cattle, grief and hope and joy. His pasture ground they fenced with ignorance. Into his fragile, undefended breast they have breathed a courage that is met by death. They have given a wisdom beyond the stars, the lady law of mind on matter's works, and win the soul's wish from her, my husband, waking in the forest's charm, out of this long, pure childhood's lonely dreams, desired, and had not for his beautiful life. Give, if thou must, or if thou canst, refuse. Death bowed his head in scornful cold assent. The builder of this dream-like earth for man, who has mocked with vanity, all kingdom and power and friends and greatness lost, and royal trappings for his peaceful age, the pallid pomps of man's declining days, the silver decadent glories of life's fall. To one who wiser grew by adverse fate, goods are a store, the sensuous solace of the light I give, to eyes which could have found a larger realm, a deeper vision in their fathomless night. For that this man desired and asked in vain, while still he lived on earth and cherished hopes, back from the grandeur of my footed, lest to slay thy life, the great laws thou hast violated, moved it. World spirit, I was thy equal spirit born. I am immortal in my immortality. I tremble not before the immobile gaze of the unchanging marble hierarchies that look with the stone eyes of law and fate. My soul can meet them with its living fire. Out of thy shadow, give me back again into earth's flowering spaces, Satyavan, in the sweet transiency of human limbs, to do with him my spirit's burning will. I will bear with him the ancient mother's load. I will follow with him, while round us strange horizons far recede, travelling together the immense unknown. For I, who have trod with him the tracks of time, can meet behind his steps whatever imposed, implacable, insisting on the immutable decree, insisting on the immitigable law, and the storm-haired Titan striding sea throws on a swimmer his tremendous laugh, remembering all bounds of thought, thy mortal role. Their orbs were coiled before thy soul was formed. By the hounds of heaven, a wounded and forsaken soul, thou flee through the long torture of the centuries. Nor many lives exhaust the tireless wrath. Hell cannot slay, nor heaven's mercy assuage. I will take from thee the black eternal grip, clasping in thy heart thy fate's exiguous doles, depart in peace, if peace for man is just. But Savitri answered, meeting scorn with scorn. The mortal woman to the dreadful Lord. Who is this God imagined by the night, contemptuously creating worlds disdained? Who made for vanity the brilliant stars? Not he, who has reared his temple in my thoughts and made his sacred flow my human heart. My God is will and triumphs in his paths. My God is love and sweetly suffers all. To him I have offered hope for sacrifice and gave my longings as a sacrament. Who shall prohibit or hedge in his course the wonderful, the charioteer, the swift? A traveller of the million roads of life, his steps familiar with the light of heaven, tread without pain the sword-paved courts of hell. There he descends to edge eternal joy. Love's golden wings have power to fan thy void. The eyes of love gaze star-like through death's night. The feet of love tread naked hardest worlds. He hovers in the depths, exults on the heights. He shall remake thy universe, O death. She spoke, and for a while no voice replied. While still they traveled through the trackless night, and still that gleam was like a pallid eye, troubling the darkness with its doubtful gaze. Then once more came a deep and perilous pause in that unreal journey through blind north. Once more a thought, a word in the void arose, and death made answer to the human soul. What is thy hope? To what dost thou aspire? This is thy body's sweetest lure of bliss, assailed by pain, a frail, precarious form, to please for a few years thy faltering sense with honey of physical longings and the heart's fire, and a vain oneness seeking to embrace the brilliant idol of a fugitive hour. And thou, what art thou? Soul, thou glorious dream of brief emotions made and glittering thoughts, a thin dance of fireflies speeding through the night, a sparkling ferment in life's sunlit mire. Wilt thou claim immortality, O heart, crying against the eternal witnesses, that thou and he are endless powers and last? Death only lasts, and the inconscient void. I only am eternal and endure. I am the shapeless, formidable vast. I am the emptiness that men call space. I am a timeless nothingness carrying on. I am the illimitable, the mute alone. I, that am he. There is no other God. All from my depths are born. They live by death. All to my depths return and are no more. I have made a world by my inconscient force. My force is nature, that creates and slays. I made my banquet, his life my food. Man has no other help but only death. He comes to me at his end for rest and peace. I, death, am the one refuge of the soul. The gods to whom man prays can help not man. They are my imaginations and my moods, reflected in him by illusion's power. That which thou seest as thy immortal self is a shadowy icon of my infinite. Is death in thee dreaming of eternity? I am the immobile in which all things move. I am the nude name in which they cease. I have no body and no tongue to speak. I commune not with human eye and ear. Only thy thought gave a figure to my voice. Because, O aspirant to divinity, thou callest me to wrestle with the soul, I have assumed a face, a form, a voice. But if there were a being witnessing all, how shouldst he help that passionate desire? Aloof he watches soul and absolute, indifferent to their cry, in nameless calm. His being is pure, unwounded, motionless, one. One endless watches the inconstant scene, where all things perish as they form the stars. The one lives forever. There no Satyavan changing was born, and there no Savitri claims from brief life her bribe of joy. Their love came never with his fretful eye of tears. Not time is there, nor the vain vasts of space. It has no living face, it has no name, no gaze, no heart that throbs. It asks no second to aid its being or to share its joys. It is delight immortally alone. If thou desirest immortality, be then alone, sufficient to thy soul. Live in thyself. Forget the man thou lovest. My last grand death shall rescue thee from life. Then shalt thou rise into the unnamed source. But Savitri replied to the dread voice, O death, who reasonest, I reason not. Reason that scans and breaks but cannot build, or builds in vain because she doubts her work. I am, I love, I see, I act, I will. Death answered her, one deep surrounding cry. Know also, knowing thou shalt cease to love and cease to will, delivered from thy heart, so shalt thou rest forever and be still, consenting to the impermanence of things. But Savitri replied, for man to death. When I have loved forever, I shall know. Love in me knows the truth. All changings mask. I know that knowledge is a vast embrace. I know that every being is myself. In every heart is hidden the myriad one. I know the calm transcendence bears the word, the veiled inhabitant, the silent Lord. I feel his secret act, his intimate fire. I hear the murmur of the cosmic voice. I know my coming was a wave from God. For all his sons were consent in my birth, and one who loves in us came veiled by death. Then man was born among the most stars, dowered with a mind and heart to conquer thee. In the eternity of his ruthless will, sure of his empire and his armored might, like one disdaining violent, helpless words from victim lips, death answered not again. He stood in silence and in darkness wrapped, a figure motionless, a shadow vague, girt with the terrors of a secret soul. Half seen in clouds appeared a somber face. Night's dusk tiara was his matted hair. The ashes of the pyre his forehead's sign. Once more a wanderer in the unending night, blindly forbidden by dead vacant eyes, she traveled through the dumb, unhoping vast, joyless death, resentful of a thought and life and love, through the long fading night, by her compelled, gliding, half seen, on their unearthly path, phantasmal in the dimness, moved the tree.